How's it going? We are KT Azteka, an indigenous network. I'm Easy Clacaele.
Claudia La Pacheca.
Arlene Sedano. T2 Rad.
Yay, and today we have a special guest, Arlene from
Infinite
the
Botanicals.
Tentacles. I was waiting for one of you to. So yeah, let's get to it. Back into our mini history lesson of the Mexica people and their history. So let's can we pull up one of those pictures? There we go. Right here we're going to be talking about Moctezuma Iwicamina. He was the sixth ruler of Tenochtitlan and the second ruler of the Aztec Empire, known as the Triple Alliance. It's the 1440 to 1453. So when he became the Tatuani, under his rule, the empire started calling him Hue Tatuani, which meant great speaker, as opposed to speaker of the tribe. Now he spoke for Tenochtitlan and the empire. He was the son of Huitzilopochtli, the second ruler of Tenochtitlan, and his grandpa was Acamapichtli, the first Tatuani. And his brother was the third one. So here we go, like a little chain effect, right? But his uncle was the fourth. So his name means angry like a lord. And if you can see right there in the left side corner, the crown upside down with the arrow going up, that's what his name means. And so when he was ruler, or not ruler, but more like the leader of the whole Great Anahuac region, he brought more fresh water from
Chapultepec.
Say it again.
Chapultepec.
Yes, some of these words sometimes they get confused, even though we talk them and express them. They get practice. It's just and it was a double pipe system, so there was constant flow of fresh water bringing in, so that was good. And one of the things he's very famous for too is that he started the flowery wars. With those, it was two tribes. If they had like some internal conflict, they were have a date and settle it instead of just invading and destroying the civilizations. So they were like pre-planned wars. And when he passed away in 1469, he was succeeded by Ashayak, his nephew, and we'll talk about Ashayak next week. But one of the things I would like to say about Moctezuma Iwicamina is that most people confuse him for Moctezuma Moctezuma Xocoyotzin, which was the last Tenochtitlan ruler. That's the one most people know, the last one. But this is the whole history lesson from the beginning to the end. And he unified, Moctezuma Iwicamina, the first, unified the whole empire, and that's one of the coolest thing about the Native American communities. We're all unified. For a while, we're all like disunified because these invaders came over and just started dividing us. But now it's a time where we are like realizing that we're all one people of this land, of this continent. We don't have to cross ships as opposed like just little land barriers, but we're still here, and that's where people get us confused, like, oh, you're not native, but we are native, we're all here. So that's one of the cool things about being just a Native American, is the unification, the sense of unification. Yeah.
Unification.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
We're all unified.
That's right.
We are unified.
Right.
We're no different. We're all considered native, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess what tries to divide us is when the government tries to say you're only native because of a percentage,
Or you get a
Blood
card.
quantum.
blood
Yeah.
quantum, or when people say you don't look it because you're too light,
Too light,
or
yes.
maybe you're too dark.
Hmm.
Or you have too much curly hair.
Or you're not as decolonized as everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a race as long as you're making conscious efforts and you're being conscious and you're attempting to reconnect as much as you can, you know, it can't go wrong.
Right?
Mhm.
Absolutely not.
Or if you don't know the language,
You
people
can try.
yeah.
I know, okay, so I asked this Saul a funny question earlier. He couldn't answer
Who?
it.
Who's that?
I mean, Tlaxcaele. Oh, I asked Tlaxcaele a question earlier, and I told him, where did the name Indian tacos come from? Because tacos is a Mexicano name, right? So I know that some get offended if we even say, we're Mexica, so and we're Native American. They're like, no, you're not because you're Mexican. So then my thing is like, well then, how are you using our language like Indian tacos? That's ours. Like, how did that name come to be?
Right.
For the
Right.
for the tacos.
Right.
What are they even called?
Right.
Flatbreads,
Fry bread.
Yeah.
fry bread.
Fry bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even both words are colonized words, right?
Yeah.
Indian and tacos is Spanish.
Yeah.
Native people aren't even from India.
Yeah, and that's the very confusing thing that we get that a lot. Like, oh, you guys are Indian, and we're like, yeah, feathers.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. Especially with the food, because we need to start educating our people about the differences, but the whole sense of unification, because you don't need a tribal membership or federal recognition. Federal recognition is just saying that a government that doesn't even belong here accepts you now because you were from here, or you know what I'm trying to
Or
say?
they can track you.
Yeah, they can track you.
They know of your existence.
All
So,
this stuff.
you know.
So
Or even what is it, like those ancestry.coms? All of those were tracked by religious organizations.
Mhm.
And even that now they have people who are, willing and paying to get tracked. You did it?
no, I know someone
it's
that
like-
did. I know someone.
I don't know you.
I know a few people too. But,
Who are you?
everybody has their own reasons for doing it, which I don't really want to knock them for doing it because everybody wants a place to belong.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that, but there are certain things that we have to try and do to protect ourselves and protect our rights as people because we don't have very many left. I mean, we look at the world and we look at indigenous rights. We don't have a lot left. We really don't.
Mhm.
So as long as we're able to continue to educate and have sessions like this where we can talk to people, open up the discussion, even just with regular people too. They don't have to be indigenous, but even just with regular people that are local, let them know what's going on. They really appreciate it, and a lot of them do want to be allies, and a lot of them do want to help.
Yeah, nobody should ever be like, no, you're. What's the most common race that tries to come? Well, anybody actually. Anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, which one?
Yeah.
They're all.
Right? Human race. Hey.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. We're all humans. We're all trying to help each other.
Yeah.
Some of us do have more struggles than the other, and we have had more struggles than the others, but for the most part, we are all human. We all have a human duty to this world, and that's, trying to help each other out, trying to help the world out too. So.
And I kind of see that's how like the pop-up vendor community is,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so leading into that, kind of, our favorite pop-up vendor, right? Infinite Botanicals representing
Yes.
the herbs, the plantas, las hierbas. So please tell us more about the work that you do, and also your family actually has a lot of roots locally.
Yes.
Some of us, our roots are barely coming here. Like we're, my
Right.
family is first generation coming here,
Yeah.
and so I'm the one starting roots here.
But see, that's the perception that just because we were descendants from Mexicanos, that we're all from over there, but we forget
Yeah.
that we were here too.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
you have your
Yeah.
roots here,
Mhm.
and that's what's amazing about this journey.
What
It's
I,
actual
Explosion.
proof, you guys, that there's Mexicanos here.
I'm a
commonalities.
mixture. I'm a mixture. So I'm not registered. At one point we were, just a personal history that those papers were burnt, right? So there's no tracking us now. Like, we don't have a number anymore. Even if I was to reach out to the Yaqui Pascua out in Arizona, I mean, unless I'm related to somebody that has an actual tribal ID, there's nothing for me there. Like, absolutely not. You know, maybe some teachings, but that's about it. With that being said, that's not the only type of indigenous tribe that I am. So I just use the label of indigenous because I feel like it's all parties. Everybody is accounted for. I'm not just one race. I do, you know, I don't know all of them. I don't know all of my ancestors. I know that, you know, we got Yaqui and Apache, and we got Chumash, and then we have, my grandma would say Sonoran, right, but that would be Pima. And then I believe there's another one, she was always unsure of the name, but it was like Ilian or something like that, but that was more coastal California. And then I learned from my real dad's side that, you know, with him it's more southern and coastal native tribes there too. And those I don't really remember, but, you know, that is something that I carry with me. That's something that I'm aware of, and so I do recognize that, and I do recognize that I'm everybody's family here. I mean, literally, my family is really, really big. It is, we've got family all over the place, not just California, but just all over the world. So, you know, I do feel like my duty is to the world. Although I identify as indigenous, and that's I make sure to tell people that I'm indigenous because I want to make sure that they're aware that, you know, we are still here. This is something that we have to really respect, especially when it comes to the earth and the current state of it. That's another reason why I claim it, is because they need to remember who they are, what their roots are. Like how she was saying, some people identify as Mexican. I had an uncle who was part of the Chicano movement. So if you remember the brown buffalo, Oscar Zeta Acosta, he actually saw him speak when he was at I think it was UCLA or something like that, you know, like in the 60s or 70s, and he was reading the Brown Buffalo. Well, during that reading, Fox News was there, they had their cameras there, and he was yelling at them to shut off the camera. Instead of the cameraman shutting off the camera, they got fed up and they walked out. Well, look at the one who stole the footage. That was my uncle. And he sold it, I believe it was to USC about maybe 8 years ago. So, I mean, my roots have always been local. I see this as a duty to everybody, not just to my people, but to everybody. Everybody's my people, you know, and I'm not just from the Redlands area. I'm also from, you know, other parts too. So I've been able to live in San Bernardino.
SB?
Yep, Riverside. Where
Riverside.
else? I think a little bit of what is it, not Covina, Chino and Pomona too. So, you know, I recognize all of it. You know, I understand everybody's struggles, especially in San Bernardino, because in San Bernardino that was like a commune. I was living with a couple of other punk kids, you know, in a I think it was like a 2-bedroom house. So sometimes at any given point we would have up to 18 people stop by, but I also want to point out that it wasn't just punk kids. You know, we had kids that listened to hip hop, we had kids that listened to just country music, just that folk punk, you know, so we had all walks of life stop by. It was like a meeting place for everybody. So for myself, especially when I go to the pop-ups, that's what I always try and emulate, is that sense of community, that everybody belongs. If you ever have a question, you know, feel free to speak with me on it. That's what I enjoy. I really love having discussions with everybody. I really do.
And tell us more about your products.
So with the products, they are actually based on the original teachings of my great-grandma. So my great-grandma kind of collected information from, you know, what would have been her mother-in-law and then her own mother. With that being said, there was also stuff that I picked up, communal taught. I like to say communal taught because I'm a member of the community. So what I like to use mostly right now is like something called the floral topical. In the floral topical, it's a lavender and rosemary mixture. So with lavender and rosemary, that's actually a natural source of CBD in it. And what a lot of people don't understand is it's very, very helpful when it comes to pain. So not only does it provide an aromatherapy benefit, it also provides the medicinal benefit of where it's able to help you with your pain. And so normally I would just have left it to where it was only the rosemary and the lavender, but because recently with, you know, all the different changes, all the different things that are more accessible to everybody else when it comes to medicines, cannabis, hemp, CBD. That's now what I'm starting to do, is I'm starting to infuse it with CBD or cannabis. And then I do want to point out that the CBD that I'm using, it is a hemp-derived CBD. It's you know, an industrial hemp, so it falls under the European standards. That way, you know, if I ever need to sell it back to them, I'm able to do that. So I always try to make sure that everything is completely by the book. I always try to make sure that, you know, if there's anything that anybody needs specifically, I'm able to help them with that. Like, here's another example of a topical that I was able to do. Now, this is actually made of an herb called devil's claw. So devil's claw is wonderful for inflammation, for pain. A lot of people use that back in the day for arthritis. So the funny thing about the arthritis is CBD. It's wonderful for arthritis. It's wonderful for pain and inflammation, right? So with the devil's claw, it's an added benefit, exactly. So I was working with Monster Energy drink for a little bit, and my carpal tunnel was starting to act up again, right? I just went in as a temp, just extra money. But my carpal tunnel was starting to act up again. Just as minimal amount rubbed on my wrist, it was starting to diminish under 3 minutes. I don't want to say a minute, but under 3 minutes, it was starting to take everything away, the pain, the inflammation, and I was able to get typing again. I think at that time I only reapplied twice, but I mean, even just with that in mind, that is a lot better than the emu oil or the tiger balm or whatever else is out there, and it's a lot more natural. You know, we know that hemp is something that is good for the environment. We know that it has a very good industrial value. So that's another thing that I like to discuss with people is not everybody knows what hemp is. A lot of them think that hemp is weed, hemp is cannabis. Well, it's non-psychoactive. There are small amounts of THC, which is the psychoactive compound that gets you high, like in cannabis. There are small amounts. However, it's small enough to where it doesn't affect you. However, if you have CBD that's gone through a chemical process, or if you have hemp that's gone through a chemical process, the amount of THC that's in there is going to be very, very minimal. And in order to be able to sell it in the United States, I believe it has to be under 3% or 2.95%. Whereas Europe, it's about 2.93%. So it's very, you know, a slight change, but with that, you know, it's something that I have to make sure I'm educated on, just in case anybody stops by. Because when I was working at the pop-up in Santa Ana, the booth for the art walk, I actually had some people come over that were from, I believe it was Germany, and then I had another woman at the pop-up in San Bernardino at the music session at the Elks Lodge, and she was from Liverpool, and she was picking something up for her dad that was here while he was rehabilitating. He was sick. So I mean, it's definitely something to where I'm able to help out a lot of people. It's not just one race of people. And it's something to where I'm able to educate a lot of people, because the way I feel is at one point we had a spice route, we had a trade route, and a lot of people were getting different kinds of gemstones for their crowns. Obviously, we all are able to tap into some type of ancestral plant medicine that our DNA would recognize. So if there's something here that helps you, like the lavender or the rosemary, there's a possibility that one of your ancestors had used it in the past. It's not just, you know, that one race, we had that spice route. How is everybody going to be able to use that as a, you know, as a form of payment? How are they going to do that if they're not able to access it? So this is something that I'd like to make sure that I tell everybody. You know, just because, like, for example, with sage, just because we have sage and we're able to use it, sometimes it's not the best thing to use at that time. So I want to kind of bring this issue up since I'm on the subject on purpose. So with white sage, with Palo Santo, with dragon's blood, it's being over-harvested right now by the metaphysical community. And so I'm not going to knock anybody from using it. However, the way that I feel is we need to be able to come up with some alternatives in the meantime. So cedar, rosemary, I mean really anything at this point other than those three, you know, at this time. So I don't want to knock anybody from using it. If you do have it in stock, you know, feel free to use it. If you can pass it around, you know, feel free to use it. But from now on, we need to be a little bit more conscious when it comes to the things that we're using. That way we don't, you know, wipe it out.
Yeah.
You know, and also native seed banks too. I really want to stress native seed banks. You're able to go online, you're able to get the seeds for that medicinal plant that you love and that you're able to establish a relationship with, and you're able to grow it your own self. So that's another thing that I want to stress with everybody too, is because if we're out here growing our own weed, our own hemp, why are we not growing our own plant medicine if we know that it's going to help us? So.
Yeah.
Because it's wild,
No,
because
that's
everything's
good.
free for all.
Exactly.
right?
There's
Yeah.
not enough, and those are our ancestors too. It's like a reincarnation of our ancestors. They're there to help us. They're there to heal us. So we got to try and do as much respect as we possibly can, and at least try and rehabilitate it. If not rehabilitate it, leave it alone. Let it try and make a comeback, because, like I said, it's being poached right now. We look at the California Dudley, the California succulents, and right now it's a very, very big problem where they're being poached so they can be sold online. So
Right.
Californians, it's our duty to make sure that we're able to spread the information, spread the knowledge to everybody else, because we all have a hand in it. If we're not spreading that information, if we make up most of the money in the United States, then why are we not telling everybody what to do? I mean,
We're
that's
the
just kind of how I feel,
Do y'all remember, I think it was Sephora that was selling like $20 or maybe more expensive,
Yes,
like
the
a witch kit? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
actually what I like that you brought that up, because on my Twitter I was talking with Young Kundalini and Old Ways, who are part of the curators and the owner for Hoodwitch. And that's one of the big people in the metaphysical community. And even they understand the importance of sage, the importance of, natural stones, natural gems like crystals, and the vibrations that they harness. That's another thing that our ancestors were able to use. Like for myself or my great-grandparents, they actually went and they found them. They collected them, and for them it was a sacred time. They were able to roam Utah, roam the deserts, roam the mountains to try and look for these special gems. And for them, they were able to, reestablish that connection with the land, reestablish their relationship with themselves. So even with something as simple as the witch kit, if you think that it's something that it's a simple concept, maybe something not to be upset, it's still something that's upsetting, because you're making money off of it. You're capitalizing off of it. And once you capitalize off of something so much, it does begin to lose its value if you're not doing anything else for the community.
Right.
So,
Right.
And I remember a teaching that, you have to know who's actually picking it, right? That energy of the person who's harvesting it.
and are they
'cause
saying
that-
thank
And-
you?
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the intentions for? Is it just to
Yes.
profit or for ceremonial?
Are they hacking away at it?
Yeah,
Are they
'cause-
able to use their hands? Because that's something else too. And then if you think about it, these plants are still susceptible to disease. So if you go and you cut it, are you doing a clean cut? Are you washing the scissors off? If you're using scissors every time you're doing it, are you washing it off so where you don't, transmit from one plant to another? Because we also have to remember, locally, like take Box Springs Mountain for example, when I was doing a hike out there after it was ravaged by the fire a couple of years ago, I kind of wanted to do my own citizen science act and see what was coming back. I saw that there was white sage. I also saw that it was growing with the, what was that? Blue lupins, right? So they're growing alongside the lupins. Well, that's a communal relationship. If the lupin wasn't there to try and help provide the necessary nutrients for the sage, it would not have been able to come back. So that's another thing that I try and stress with people, is just because it's there, what is it going to do to the environment? What is it going to do to that other plant that it has a symbiotic relationship with? And another thing that we also don't really think about is when it comes to plants, they do feel pain, they do have emotions. I was able to see a couple of studies where the plants were able to make music. There was one where they were at, I believe it was Oregon, and it was was it a botany center? Something like that. But it had a lot of plants, and it was being shut down. The plants were starting to overgrow. It was starting to, of course, overtake that little area that it was in, and they couldn't keep up with it anymore. So they did decide they were going to close the doors and move somewhere else. Well, they left the plants there to kind of die on their own. They took some of the rare species with them to the new location, but for the most part, they left them there. And with the help of a young woman who was, I believe she was in an orchestra, she might have been a composer, but didn't matter, because once she was able to hook the plants up to what is it? It's like a frequency. When she was able to hook them up to these special wires, they were able to make music through the instruments that she had preloaded. And so it was actually able to show you that they were very sad. The music was melancholy. You know, if anybody wants to research it, please look into it. But it was a very, very sad thing to witness. You know, the plants were pretty sad that they were going to be left there and they were going to be pretty much forgotten. You know, so that's also something that we have to take into consideration when it comes to even the food being picked. I mean, really anything, you know, in order to be able to reconnect, we must be conscious. We must be conscious of what we're using, what we're putting in our bodies, what we're doing, what we're thinking, you know? So.
And one of the things when you said that about the food, yeah, that comes to mind is corn.
Yeah.
You know, it got over harvested. It's like if you don't see history and repeating itself, you won't see it coming, and that's what's happening. Like just corn, it was harvested for profit. You know, make more money, sell, grow,
GMOs.
and now GMOs. We don't even have natural corn anymore. There's only like 1 or 2 corns in America.
In the U.S.
Yeah.
And so for myself, up until I went to my first powwow, because my family, ever since they were, you know, kind of threatened with their safety, they had to identify as being Mexican. So with that came a lot of forgotten knowledge. A lot of the information was not able to be passed on. Anything that was able to be passed on was like a direct go against the current body system, the current, you know, government. So they were having to be very careful with what they were passing down. But for myself, I never even knew that blue corn existed until I think I was like 9, and I went to a powwow, and they gave me the what is it called? I don't remember, but it was like sweet. It was almost like a little disc of corn, blue cornbread. Like we walked in, they recognized my great grandma. It's like maybe her first time being there, but they recognized her, I guess, for who she was, and they just made us come over and eat. And they made us sit down, watch everybody, and eat. You know, immediately we were like a part of the family. And so that was something that I always carried with me, because the only other time that I felt that was when I would go and see other brown families. You know, that was a sense of community there. So for myself, that's why I say I always make sure that I have that sense of community when people stop by the booth, that, you know, when you come by, I'm really going to listen to you. So.
And that's just more of a Native American. And when we say Native American, just like the mindset of what, like the morals and values have been passed down through our DNA too, because that's who we are. We're friendly people, community based.
Very welcoming.
I don't know. We learn from each other and we help each other out. That's what this whole journey is about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And watch out for one another too.
Exactly. And that's what I really love about it, and that's. For myself, that's why I love having a mixed family, is because I love that my brown family are very, very supportive, and then I love having the white side of the family to where they could see what it's like living in the other culture, you know, or like some of my cousins, some of them are black, right? So when they got married in, they're just kind of like, oh my God, you guys are crazy. You're loud, you live like this, because we had such a big amount of family come over. They're just kind of like, all of our we don't have that many family living out here. Like, you guys are all in this, you know, 100-mile radius. Like, you're not tired of each other. Why are you not on the other side of the states? And so that's why we're just kind of like, yeah, you know, we do get sick of each other, but we also understand that sense of community, that if anybody is going through anything, we got to be there. You know, even no matter how many times they mess up, we got to be there for them. You know, for our family members. We love them. We got to try and be there and support them. And then what I kind of noticed with my family is how now I'm starting to talk to them a little bit more about ancestral trauma, right? And so I'm always saying, you know, remember this? Well, okay, well, you can connect that with this, and this could be connected with blah, blah, blah. And they're just kind of sitting there like, okay, you're right. Why didn't anybody tell me this before? And that's something where maybe if we were all able to speak with each other and have that sense of community when it came to mental health, when it came to reaching out and needing help instead of having to rely on a governmental body or an institution, we would have been able to, you know, save a lot of our people. Because just for myself, I know that in my family, you know, the brown part of the family, a lot of them had trouble when it came to methamphetamine, right? You look at 60% of indigenous people, they all have a problem with methamphetamine at one point. Why is that? That's a lot of trauma. That is a lot of trauma. And did anybody tell them that's what it was? You know, even if a court appointed anything, you go and you see a mental health psychiatrist, whatever, what are they going to tell you? They're going to say, okay, well, you know, you should be aware of what it is that you're doing. Let's kind of talk about what it is that you're going through and see what you can do to fix yourself. Or let's bring up that old trauma, speak with me for an hour, and then when you leave, you know, do some breathing exercises. We don't, what do we do when they go back into the community? They don't have that sense of community. They don't have it. And so I feel like what we need to do is we need to have discussions like this. We need to have men's circles out here. They got them in LA, Eastside Cafe LA, they got them all the time. How come we don't have them out here? We have so many people that need it out in the Inland Empire. So that's another thing that I'm going to try and start bringing to the Inland Empire. I'm working with one of my friends, Higo, seeing if maybe he wants to try and help lead a men's circle with another individual that normally goes out to Venice Beach. That way maybe they can kind of get some trips down, you know, they can go out there, you know, meditate, whatever. Anything that they might be able to do to try and help themselves and help other people. So, you know, that's something that I'm really trying to give back to the community. That and working on zines too. So I want to try and give not quite free information, but very cheap information. It's like what, like $5 for a zine?
Yeah.
But at least with the zine, I want to be able to really educate people on what they have around them. So for example, Redlands, we see it all over the place. The buckwheat, what, like, it's all over the place. What is its use? Why aren't we throwing it away? It's a weed, right? It could be, it's not really a flame retardant when it dries out. That's what my grandma used to tell me. Oh, it's a flame retardant. Okay, yeah, but in the summer, it's dried out, and it's, you know, it's fuel. So what is buckwheat? How can we use it? Well, I'm going to be able to tell you that in the zine. So that's another thing that I want to be able to let everybody know is, what is this? What am I seeing when I'm driving by this hill, and how can it be used? Because I know that when I was little, that's what I would do every single time I was going up and down the 10 freeway with my great grandma. What is that? What is that? What is that? And we would stop, pull over, and check it out. And she knew every single one because she researched it when she was younger. You know, and she remembers that my great grandmother had to use it. That was survival.
Yeah.
You know, with 4 kids, like, how could you not? Like, really,
Right.
how could you not?
I had a soup with dandelions. Weed, and I was
Yeah.
like, what? You can eat that?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah.
Or even there was a holistic doctor that he visited that looked up, okay, what wild plants are in abundance where you live, and said, this is what you need for magnesium.
Yes.
You need to take this. So, right, going back to that, because no typical doctor is going to tell you that.
Exactly. And like, so for myself, I think maybe like 5 years ago, I was having really bad allergies, right? Really bad sinuses. And I'm just like, oh, I'm suffering. There's nothing that I can do for myself. And I remember telling my mom, just expressing that frustration, like, oh, I don't want to take medicine. If I take Zyrtec, I'm going to fall asleep. I can't get any work done. I'm useless if I take allergy medicine. I'm trying to take this essential oil. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. It was really bad. And she told me, you know, your great grandma used to make a tea that she would give your uncle, which was her only brother, her young brother, and it would get rid of his allergies for the whole year. Needed it once, and that was it. And I'm just kind of like, well, shit, what was it? No, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. And so even if I'm researching the book that I have on ethnobotany, so I have this book that's almost like an encyclopedia of all of the different Native American herbs that we used. Everything, absolutely everything. And that's what I use for this, is because I want to make sure that, like, you guys are able to take that away. When you take this away, when you buy one of these for like $10, you're going to go away with so much knowledge that, I mean, really, if you don't need the CBD, you're not going to need me anymore. You know, I want to make sure that you're educated, that you're re-educated, because this is stuff that you used to know, you just forgot. And that's my main thing.
And we use her products, so they're really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
And I
Yeah.
used her lip gloss.
Oh, yeah.
It
And I
helps
think-
with like the chapped lips.
I use this one for my head, for
Anxiety.
headaches, anxieties, and all
Yeah.
that. They're really good.
And you could actually use that one for your TMJ too. So a lot of my stuff that's infused, even if it looks just like a chapstick, it all has a purpose. So just looking at the chapstick or the lipsticks that I make, lip gloss, all of them. The reason why they're like that is because not all of my customers can take a tincture when they're at work, right? So if they're used to, mind you, I barely started making the 250 milligram dosages because I noticed that a lot of the people were taking those lower dosages, but they're paying $30. I'm not gonna charge you $30. That's not worth it. Like, why would I do that? My 500s are $30. That's, you know what I mean? Anyways, so this is only 5 milligrams of CBD, which is a low dosage, but every time you lick your lips,
Oops, I just did.
if you have anxiety, it's gonna try and help you. It's gonna try and help you. And then because it has peppermint oil in it, it's gonna try and freshen your breath also. So that's why I try and make sure and be very conscious of what it is that I'm making. Just because I'm making something that looks like a mindless cosmetic doesn't mean that it doesn't have a use.
Right?
You
Yeah.
know, everything has a use.
And
Mhm.
to tell you guys the truth, it does not taste horrible. It actually tastes pretty good.
Good.
I didn't know that until now.
Yeah.
Because I remember buying it, but I just remember you telling me about the rose and the
Yeah.
the rose petals and then
Uh-huh.
peppermint. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like
Yeah.
it'll soothe my lips. It won't burn anymore because you know the burning.
Yes.
But now that I know all that, I'm like, dang, I got the hookup.
And that's why I put the CBD in it too. So if you have chapped lips and you have a chapstick with CBD in it, you're not going to feel the pain associated with the split of the chapped lip. So I noticed that a lot of they don't like necessarily follow my page, but they'll go and they'll like my post periodically, so I know they're kind of stalking me. But I noticed that a lot of the celebrity sports celebrities, they look at when I post stuff about that. When I post simple information about what it is that I'm making, what's in it, what it's used for, especially when it comes to CBD, they're informed. They like it. So this is definitely something that I noticed that it's not just one community, it's many communities. It's not just one class of people, it's all classes of people that's able to enjoy this, that's able to benefit from this information. So another thing that I'm also going to be doing with everybody with the community is I want to start making reference videos regarding herbs, like how I was able to inform you about lavender and rosemary and the way it's able to naturally carry CBD. I also want to make sure that I'm able to give you a little bit more information as to how exactly you can start incorporating rosemary and lavender into your self-care rituals or even in just your food. So that's also something that I'm going to be bringing you soon.
Sounds exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make sure that everybody has that information again, you know, because I was getting kind of mad when it came to like the sinuses, you know, because that's something so simple like, oh, a tea, and that would have just helped me for a whole year. Where is this magical tea? I need it.
Right.
You know, and
When you find it, let me know.
yes, that's what I'm saying. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one with sinuses, so that's why I'm saying, you know, I'm still trying to research it, but at least, you know, I'm not the only one that gets a little frustrated when they don't know what the herb is that could help them, you know.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, so here's a quick question for you.
Mhm.
What brought you to the vendor life? Like, what made you become a vendor?
So I had a friend who needed bath bombs, and that's pretty much where I started. Is so he needed bath bombs. He wanted to make sure that what was in the bath bomb was the appropriate dosage. A lot of the times when it comes to the pop-up communities and the cannabis community, a lot of the information that's on the label is not true to what's in it. They'll say, you know, for example, they'll say a half-ounce bottle has 250 milligrams of CBD, whereas it's not 250 milligrams of CBD, it's 250 milligrams of liquid, right? So what is that?
Oh.
How much of that liquid is CBD?
Mhm.
Or we have these CBD tinctures where they're not made out of it's made out of CBD oil or hemp seed oil, my bad. It's made out of hemp seed oil, and hemp seed oil has no CBD, absolutely none. Maybe 0.0003 if you're lucky. But that's another thing. That's a literal snake oil salesman. So for myself, it was kind of a community thing. I need a product that I know that I'll be able to rely on it when it comes to being in stock. I know that I need a product where it's going to be true to what it says on the label, and that's how I was able to start out. And then the first pop-up I went to, I believe, was the bake sale sesh. And then after that was another one they kind of hosted. I don't think they're around anymore because of some interesting things going on. But, you know, I do remember going to the bake sale sesh and having that sense of community. Everybody was a little bit standoffish because everybody's a competitor. But then I kind of noticed that when I started going to places like the music sesh out in San Bernardino at the Elks Lodge, that was a little bit different. You know, I normally the only person at the pop-ups, so if I need help, I'm kind of left to the devices of everybody else. I hate to admit it, but yeah, it is like that sometimes. And it's a sense of community because they could have told me, you know, F off if I needed help with setting anything up, and they didn't. They helped me. And then, you know, of course, we all get to know each other. We all exchange stuff. So we, you know, barter. I do tend to barter a lot with people. I know that that's something that's like a cultural significance. We always used to barter a lot. So I am open, you know, to bartering, especially when it comes to like plants, right? So keep that in mind. Any rare plants, I am open to barter when it comes to that. But you know, that's mostly what it is. It's just local communities. Once I started seeing that they liked the product, and I started noticing that they needed stronger products. So a lot of the people in the Inland Empire, they're in a lot of pain. Right. They need a lot of the stuff that's in the high dosages. So just as an example, we had a customer, my friend and I, who has official sugar high, and she has the cannabis infused treats, like the desserts. And one of our customers, he's blind, and he was telling us, what is this, you know, what is this that you have on your table? So I'm, you know, handing it to him, and he's holding it, and I'm kind of describing it to him. Well, you know, it's a lollipop. It kind of tastes like a See's caramel lollipop. It has about 500 milligrams of THC, which is cannabis oil, in it. You know, it is something that's pretty high in dosage. It could kind of get you a little bit messed up, a little bit dizzy. And he goes, well, that's, you know, that's all fine and all, but what do you have that's stronger? And I'm kind of like, okay, well, you know, this is what we got. this is what we have. And so he did, you know, he was very, very supportive, because not everybody is not everybody has that air of customer service when it comes to people that have different disabilities. Like, we even have some customers that are deaf. So what I'm going to start incorporating with the pop-ups is a whiteboard. So I know that, you know, everybody can kind of write what they want. That's what we're going to start doing now, is if I have anybody in the deaf community, they'll be able to, you know, they'll still be able to communicate. So, you know, that's just another thing that I realize is the people out here are really, really in pain. These are the people that really, really need to benefit from it in the Inland Empire. And these people have been in pain for a very, very long time. And I think that's why they need everything that's at such a high dosage. I remember looking at an article 2 days ago where they said the single serving amount size for cannabis oil or cannabis dessert product would be 10 milligrams. 10 milligrams, no, I'm sorry, 5 or 10 milligrams of THC, when that guy wanted 500 in a small little See's candy sucker. So, or I'm sorry, 1,000 in a small little sucker. You know, so that's kind of something that I want everybody to kind of keep in mind when it comes to using cannabis and stuff like that. Is if you're in a lot of pain, you're gonna need it. And these people don't want to take opioids. They've been doing that for so long. They've had a lot of family members where they passed away because of it. Even taking hard medication for your blood pressure, they had a study where it was linking to different types of cancer that just came out. Wow. So yeah. And so it's just kind of like, okay, the stuff that they're prescribing us is killing us, and it's all derived from plant medicine. We got to get back to the plant medicine, and, you know, if anybody's going to kill me, it's going to be me when it comes to what I'm testing out. You know what I mean? I'm not going to allow somebody else to poison me. That's why for myself, when it comes to a lot of my blends, I test it out on myself, ensure that it's, you know, safe before I try and give it to anybody else. So.
Cool. Our next question is, what inspired you to become an herbalist vendor?
What inspired me to become an herbalist is I was tired of working in the temporary community. So I was working with Wells Fargo and Bank of America for a very long time, and it was a lot of layoffs, a lot of back and forth. I noticed that when it came to CBD and cannabis, I had over, 8 years under the belt. So to me, it was kind of that's the next step. I know so much about it. I've known so much about it. I've been kind of like in a, I guess I can say, a community. I've been in different communities throughout the Inland Empire to where it just kind of felt like the next thing. That was the next step.
Okay.
So,
Last two questions. What advice would you give people who are who want to vend or starting to vend?
mhm.
And then what do you see in the pop-up market for the future?
Okay. So what
Pop-up market community.
Okay. What I recommend to people wanting to get into it is just go. Go to one, fill it out, see exactly how you feel, because you're not going to feel comfortable immediately. It's very rare that you're going to feel comfortable immediately unless you're there with a friend. Yes, if you want to go first with a friend, feel free to do it, kind of fill the water out, and then go by yourself. That way you'll know if you're stuck at that booth by yourself. If your partner has to walk away and step out to the bathroom, that you'll feel comfortable taking the situation over yourself, because that's a lot of people coming through. For example, the music sesh, MC Life, he's, I'm going to give him a shout out because he did a really, really good job with getting everybody at the music sesh. I remember trying to be a vendor. God, I was trying to be a vendor when I first came out over there, and it was very, very difficult. I don't know why. I was there for a meeting that didn't actually take place with the person that it was supposed to take place with. So when you go to these things, make sure that you talk to them like you belong there. Say, I have this business. I would like more information about what exactly is needed to be able to vend here, to be a vendor here. What exactly are the requirements? Am I going to need my own table? Am I going to have to provide my own chair? Are you going to be able to provide promotion for this event? How many people are you going to have come out? Because we have to remember this, when it comes to the cannabis pop-ups, when it comes to a lot of these pop-ups, these people will try and trick you to give them at least $1,500 for things like Kush Stock or for things like the Blazers Cup. Don't fall to a scam like that. You absolutely do not need it. Not when you're starting out.
Right.
And another thing for people that want to be in the cannabis business, a lot of the times you don't have to have the legality as long as you're able to look for a place like the music sesh to where they are able to make it legal for you not to have that licensing. Then, that's something that you also want to look for. That's something that you'll be able to take advantage, because not everybody has the money for just applying. I believe last time I checked it was like over $1,500 just to apply, and that's not even saying that you're going to get it.
Mi corazón.
Who has that? Obviously, people from social economic disadvantaged classes aren't going to be able to afford that, are never going to be able to afford that unless they have financial backers. Who's going to want to be a financial backer for a cannabis company? So if you're able to put your own money into it, do it. If you have family members that are interested in doing it, absolutely get them into it to where they want to help you. A lot of the times, you do have to tell them this is kind of like a get-rich-quick thing. It can be a get-rich-quick thing when it comes to certain things at these events. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're working on certain things. The same as when you're talking to certain people in the community. You don't really want to give them all of your mojo. So that's another thing you have to watch out for. Just, a lot of it is common sense. As long as you're conscious and you're taking notice of what's going on around you, what's changing what, then you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
And where will you be next?
Next, I'm going to be, so next I'm going to be at the Inconsiderate Board Shop this Sunday. Yes.
Con cariño.
So I'm actually going to be sitting there behind my booth eating all the delicious fry bread, because that's what I do every single time. But yes, I'm going to be there from, what is it? Is it 6?
12 to 5 or 12 to 6?
12 to 5.
12
to 5.
So
Okay.
March 17th.
Yes, so from 12 to 5, come and get it. Come get the hookup on economical CBD products. I'm not going to say cannabis because I'm not going to have it, but come get the economical CBD products. Get something for yourself and your grandma under $20. So
Really good stuff.
Don't
Yes.
forget to feast on your fry bread though.
yes, and I'm I'm gonna give a shout out to the salsa because that's my favorite.
Yay.
Like my great grandma used to make it like that, like like that. I don't know how to explain it, but it was
Fire.
like that. Yes. And so when I eat it, because my great grandpa used to say it has to be hot, otherwise I can't taste it.
Uh-huh.
Right? So it's hot, but you can taste it, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, damn, they would be so proud of this right now. Like
Oh.
that's something that so I just kind of feel like if I'm eating it and enjoying it, they're eating it and enjoying it. So,
Yes.
check it out. We'd love to see you guys.
And this video was brought to you by Fried Bread Hut.
Hey, remember every Sunday from 8:30 to 1 at the Tyler Mall in Riverside. So if you're just driving through the 91 on a Sunday and just happen to have no breakfast, just stop on by.
Feast on our bison and our strawberry fried bread. Yeah.
Always fresh because we buy it right there at the local vendors. You know, we gotta support each other,
Yes.
and
Not
that's how
only
we
are
do
you
it.
supporting us, but you're supporting the other vendors as well.
The community.
Yeah, and we didn't never buy anything frozen too.
That's right. Fresh, not frozen.
No GMOs.
That's right.
No bleach.
Keep it natural.
All
Natural.
artificial flavors. I'm just kidding. Oh my god.
It's good. Come enjoy it.
See, she likes artificial flavors.
Okay.
I'm kidding. There's no artificial flavors.
Artificial.
No.
We're non-GMO. Okay,
Last
so
minute word.
don't forget to join us on our workshop on Friday with Danza.
Yeah. Every Monday we practice here at Corazon Canceling here in Tibbet Street and Riverside. So like I said, if you're just driving through Monday around 6:30, just stop on by.
And don't forget to sign your kids up for the summer camp at KT Azteka.
Yeah, we're gonna be having monthly workshops, so you get to know more about the camp, who we are, what we're trying to do with the greater community of Riverside.
And we have 2 camps going on this year. We have the one in Casablanca and the one at Studio 3.
My kid goes to that.
Yay! Our producer.
Our
She's probably in
producer's
this
kid.
picture.
Oh yeah,
She
she
is.
probably is in this
Oh, she's
picture.
all in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's with her
Bring
cousins
betters.
in the back.
Oh, you can see her hair
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the end of the table.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't forget to sign up your kids.
Come to our workshops.
You know, you need more information, hit us up.
At KT Azteka on our Instagram and Facebook. Remember, KT Azteka. Just kidding. You know, I imagine words.
That's gonna be the outro.
You know,
Yeah. It's gonna be like
we'll
the
work
call
on
out.
that.
Any last words?
I saw
KT Azteka.
Any last thing you want the viewers to know?
eat more plants, eat more flowers.
Mm.
I always tell you guys, I had sugar cookies that had flowers on them, and I was telling all the guys that were walking by to eat more flowers. I mean it, eat more flowers, eat more plants.
You might
Embrace
as well.
that.
You smoke it. So.
Embrace that shit. Eat it. Eat it. Oh, not just cannabis. Not just cannabis flowers, but eat more flowers in general. Eat them. They're good
Right.
for you. They'll make you happy. They'll make your spirit feel good. So do it. You need it. I'm telling you
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Alrighty.
Last minute word.
Support healing spaces.
Support us.
Safe
Support
spaces
community.
and smiling faces. Hashtag safe spaces and smiling faces. That's it right here.
And mine, just come out and be part of the greater community.
Join your community.
Mhm.
That's right. Be an ally.
And we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us, and see you next Tuesday.